All right, let's see what Andrew Tate has to say.
If my daughter came to me and said I was raped, before, on my way to get my gun, I'd say, tell me the story. And if she said, I met a man and I was dating him for many weeks and I went out with him and I started drinking with him and then I went to his house and we continued to drink and it was a party and then we started kissing and I took all my clothes off and then we started having sex and then I decided I didn't want to have sex anymore. I'm like, I can't truthfully shoot this man in the head anymore.
Makes
Why
sense.
did you do all of that? Why didn't you just say no?
You know what? And this is exactly why in the Quran it says, don't come near to zina. Because like the situation why some of those also rape allegations are happening is because women put themselves in such a situation and either they know that they can end up in such situation or sometimes it's actually also like ignorance. Like, oh, if I'm like making out with a guy, I do this and this could lead to that, right? And like sometimes I'm wondering, was something made out of, like, is something happened out of consent or not? Like, I'm actually wondering in this case that he describes, did the man even know that the daughter did not want this or what? Because the situation was already going into a certain direction, right? Like, there can be some misunderstanding, some miscommunication. It can lead to something that maybe a person did not want it to, but did not really defend against by maybe distancing themselves from anything that can lead to that, right? Like, this is why the Quran teaches don't come near to zina, right? Okay, let's hear what else he has to say.
And I'm talking about my own daughter here. But
yeah, it's
I don't know if I'm allowed
thing.
to say this without the world having a mental breakdown, because we live in a world now where nothing is nuanced. You can't make a nuanced point. You can't talk about how complicated a subject is. Everyone wants black and white. It's difficult what sexual consent is anymore, because when you remove morality, there's no longer a line.
This is what I said.
I don't know. It's hard.
Because you don't know what's consent.
Because you can't trust anyone. Let's imagine I meet a brand new girl, and let's imagine we have a happy relationship. And
wait a second, he has 11 wives? That's haram. You can only have 4 wives. Like, he became a Muslim and he has 11 wives, then he can only keep 4. Does he actually know that 4 is the limit?
Imagine we're together for 9 months, and let's imagine we have sex 100 times. And let's imagine I don't buy her a BMW.
What?
Let's imagine. And let's imagine she texts me and says, I want a BMW. And I say no. And let's imagine she texts me and says, if you don't buy me a BMW, I will go to the police and say you raped me. Imagine she admits.
Was she from Peterborough, where I live?
Well, let's imagine she admits via text to the crime. She admits what she's going to do for a car. And I still refuse to buy her a car.
He will still be found guilty.
When she goes to the police and makes that complaint, I will still be arrested. I will still be demonized in the media.
So true.
I will still have to go to court. I will still have to go through a trial. I will still spend $3 million in legal fees.
I have a good example of this. You guys all know Johnny Depp, right? And he's the actor for Pirates of the Caribbean, right? He was actually kicked out of Pirates, of the franchise, because of his allegations by his ex-wife, right? And even though he was like found innocent in court, right, he won this, his name is still not clean, even though he was actually proven to be innocent by court, right? And he's still not back into the movie franchise of Pirates, right? And this is actually terrifying. Like, if a man gets accused of something, even if at the end of the day in court, oh, this guy's innocent, or you don't have enough evidence, or there's actually evidence proving him to be innocent, like, his name and career is still ruined. Like, this is such a damage to the image, because as long as there's even a question mark, like, you no longer get hired. Like, even some of your friends are starting to distance themselves from you because they're always thinking in their head, like, what if, right? So this is very harmful.
$3 million in legal fees. Despite her admitting to the fact she is lying for a car, I will still have my reputation decimated. My life will be damaged. I'll be stressed to the max.
He's talking about his case now.
I'll have legal fees. I'll go through all of this, all because I didn't buy her a car, despite her admitting the crime. Because I'm a man. And even worse, I'm a famous man. And even worse than that, I'm a masculine man.
Look at Hollywood and the actors there. Always accused.
So how can a man even fairly and safely have a relationship anymore? Where is sexual consent? I don't know. I had sex with her 100 times. Was she drunk one of those times? I don't think so. Do I alcohol breath test her every single time? No. She's now saying she was drunk. I'm saying, well, she came over my house at 11:30 p.m. We went straight to bed. I don't know. I didn't notice. I don't drink.
But that is actually true. There's like one weather news guy here in Germany, and he was actually accused by his longtime girlfriend. And what actually blew my mind about this is they've been for such a long time in a relationship, and even in court. And this guy said he had often intimacy with her, right? So how comes they are doing like 100 times plus, and one time is actually not with consent? Like, hey, this one time I didn't want it. Like, does this one time even matter if this was already over 100 of times? Like, matter in a way where, how do you even know this person says no if this became a habit? Like, what if a couple does something 3-4 times a week, right? Like, let's say there's a couple, they've been together for 5 years, okay? I think that's a good example, like 5 years. And they have the habit of doing it 3 or 4 times a week. And they already had like 300-400 plus times already in their relationship or even marriage, right? Like, let's say they're even married, okay? They're like married for 5 years. They do it 3-4 times a week. And then suddenly one day the wife says, I have a headache or I don't feel like doing it, right? And the guy doesn't even get like clearly informed, and he just goes to her, they do something, right? And after that she goes to the police station and reports her own husband for rape, because from the 300 plus times, one time she didn't feel like she wanted it, even though they always do it 3-4 times per week. Then how can you as a guy tell this girl doesn't want it or not if it became a habit and it's just so normalized in this marriage, for example, right? Like, this is so scary actually, guys, because how can you protect yourself as a guy from this? Like, do you need to have like a camera in your room filming the whole process of what's happening and see if there's any resistance on that day? Like, then you can go to court and say to this woman, name the date and the time, and then you go back to your recorder, like your video, and you actually check. But you can't just show this to everyone. Like, what the heck? Like, this is privacy, right? Like, nobody should see what's happening in the bedroom, like outside of the couple, of course, right? So yeah, this is so strange.
I haven't drunk a drop of alcohol in 1.5 years. Yeah, but she was drunk. Prove it. Do you have the blood alcohol test that she was drunk? No, neither do I. But she says she was drunk. So she says the consent isn't real, so you still have to go to a trial. But she admitted she lied for a BMW trial.
Yeah, how do you prove it?
We have evidence to the contrary, because you said on the Rob Morris podcast that women can't park. And that BBC, rapist. Bro, what the? You can't live a life anymore. And the scenario I've just described to you is 100% accurate.
The Me Too
so how
movement,
are you as a
right?
man now? You ask me what sexual consent is. I don't know. There is no sexual consent anymore. Let me change my answer. My answer was there's no longer a clear line of sexual consent because of diluted morality.
Yeah, that is actually true with morality. Plus, is it like, do you need the consent verbally, or is body language enough? Because this is something I think a lot of guys are misunderstanding as well, right? Like, let's say you're with your wife, or someone's in a harem relationship or something, right? How can you tell this is consent or not? Like, me as a guy, a body language would be like, oh, my wife, she takes off her clothes or something, right? That's like body language, that's consent or something, isn't it? Like, what is consent even? Like must it be like written like a contract? Hey, today at this time on this day, I sign that I allow you to go to bed with me, or what? Like, how do you get the consent? Like, it can be also like he said this except with his daughter, right? Like, drinking and then kissing, this and that. Like, how do you tell what is a consent? Like, do you need it written down? Do you need it verbally? Do you have to record it? Like, what is consent? Because body language can be a form of consent too. And how do you know? Like, is this an invite to intimacy or not? Like, how can a guy even tell these days, right? Because there's no morality. Everyone is too open.
Change the answer. As a man, there is never consent. Because if it can be snatched from you retrospectively, then you never had it. You never owned it. If I give you something and I can snatch it back off of you at any time, do you own it? No, you're borrowing it. You can borrow consent as long as you never annoy that female at any point in the future ever.
So true.
Good luck.
Scary.
That's what a line of sexual consent is for a man. So as a man in the Western world, you have zero consent. And even if you have all of the proof, I made the point about the text for the BMW.
Yeah, the text
that's
message.
Very important. You can have CCTV footage, you can have all her text, you can have everything. They will still destroy you in the media. So it doesn't matter. Your reputation is still tarnished. You'll lose your job. lose your bank accounts.
Yeah, like look at Johnny Depp.
They'll still take everything from you. So there is no sexual consent anymore for a man.
Or the weather guy here in Germany.
Exist.
So here's a paradox I've just picked up out of that.
Sure.
And that is everything you said about what the media will do to you has made you bigger than Jesus Christ.
Well,
you are bigger
Don't
than
say
Jesus.
that.
Yeah, it's made me massively. It has made
Because if
me
it didn't work like that, you wouldn't be as big as you are.
correct. But I'll
What
also.
the heck?
I'm in a fortunate.
We can never compare ourselves to prophets, peace be upon them, because they are on a whole different level than us human beings, and their trials are insane. Like, look at the trials that Isa alayhi salam had. Like, he had to go through so much. Like, he was even betrayed by his own people at some point. With Judas trying to set him up and all that, right? And then Allah came and saved Isa alayhi salam. Like, there were a lot of trials that none of us can imagine. Like, look at Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, he lost so many children. Like, this is so hard. And he was like actually thrown out of his hometown even. He had to do like a hijrah. His uncle actually never accepted Islam and he begged him. And like a lot of trials happened to the prophets, peace be upon them. And you can't imagine this. Like, no human being can compare themselves to a prophet. Like, come on, like, stop mentioning someone is like Jesus here, please. This is so wrong.
Situation because 99% of men who was hit like I was hit couldn't have done what I've done. And I'll tell you why. Firstly, there's the mental aspect. Every man
it's
thinks
mental
he's tough
pressure.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Two, when you have the BBC attacking you, attacking your mother, attacking your family, attacking the mothers of your children, when your kids are getting kicked out of school, when
Wow.
reporters are following your old mother around, when they've closed all your bank accounts down, when they're trying their very best to call all
No
your
more
ex-girlfriends
privacy.
and build up cases that don't exist, when they're putting lies about you, when you know you can go to jail at any moment for nothing. That's a lot of mental stress.
Yeah.
Most people, I'd argue, couldn't deal with that mental
You
stress.
sleep with one eye open, basically.
Next, financially. Most people have a job, and your job is gone, and you're broke. If you have your own business, you can't get customers or clients.
Oh,
Most
yeah.
people. I'm in a very fortunate financial situation where my finances are hard to touch and very difficult to damage. In fact, they've been trying for a very long time to take down my school.
Wow.
That's not even my main money. My main money is other things that I don't even know about. I can't be damaged. I'm actually in the NBA. I'm an NBA player. Never broke.
Yeah, this is the thing, like with sports stars, right? Like NBA players. You also have that with soccer players. You have the same with like actors for movies, right? When once your name gets put into the dirt by someone having some false allegations against you, like, oh, you did this, you raped someone. Even if you're a streamer, this can happen to you. Like, if you're a Twitch streamer, like, people can cancel you. Like, you can say, okay, yeah, as a Twitch streamer, you're still independent, right? But they're gonna post stuff about you. Like, other creators will, like, diss you and say, oh, look at this guy. And then you lose, like, a large amount of your following, or people are not going to watch you anymore as much. And then, like, even your algorithm can die out, right? But if you have, like, an actual dependency with a contract for something, be it like a sports contract because you are like an NBA player, or you are an actor and you are signed with Disney or something, right? For example, like if you lose this contract, like your whole life can be destroyed. Your finances, you can no longer pay for your cars, for your mansion, for this and that, right? So yeah, this is very, very dangerous for some professions, actually.
Even know about. I can't be damaged. I'm actually in the NBA. I'm an NBA player. Never broke again. So because of that, I'm also fortunate. And I'm a very good speaker with a very large platform. And they've
Yeah.
tried to cancel me and ban me.
But you always,
which they've done.
You always found
Normally that makes
answers,
someone go away.
like replies.
They've tried, and I don't go away. I'm on other platforms, so I can speak. If I was a normal person and I got hit with that garbage, I wouldn't be bigger than Jesus Christ. I'd be destroyed. I'd have no money. I'd have no job.
Wait.
I'd be able to get no customers. I'd have no.
Yo, Andrew Tate, you need to do tauba. Like, seriously, you're a Muslim. You cannot say that. Like, compare yourself with Jesus, peace be upon him. Like, come on.
No social media. I wouldn't be able to tell my version of the truth, and they'd be printing lies about me endlessly. And add all that on top of the other mental pressure, I'd be suicidal. And they wouldn't care. They think it was funny. 99% of men who, if they've gone through what I've gone through, would be a mess. So I pulled it off. It's true. But I speak to all the men out there at home telling you you have no consent. Because if it happens to the average man, he's done.
Yeah, but he's
He is
right
done.
about that, though.
Happens to footballers. They're famous, and they lose their contracts, they lose everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's what I
There's no such
mentioned.
thing as sexual consent in the West for a man anymore. I didn't even realize that until you asked me that question. I thought it was blurred because of morality. But after analyzing it, it turns out it doesn't exist at all, which is even worse.
You know what's the best protection for this? But this is something for us Muslims. So it is totally forbidden to have sex before marriage in Islam. This is haram. Like, you shouldn't be in a haram relationship. You should do a nikah. That means you get married and then you get intimate with your spouse, right? And if you're actually living like a religious lifestyle, right, as a practicing Muslim, you will actually want to marry a woman that's also religious, right? That is actually following the religion of Islam. And those women, they will, to 99%, not come up with those allegations because they actually have morals. They know what marriage means. They have a heart, right? Like, they're not like those feminists that are like crazy about, I have my rights, but when I have my rights, I want even more rights. I want to have more rights than the man at some point. Like, you know what's like sad about feminism? Feminism started as a very good movement, actually. Like, yeah, I'm actually saying this. Feminism started as a very good movement, but then became extreme, and then it became unhealthy for society. So feminism was about women have rights, and women should be treated fairly by society. And I totally agree with that. Women are very, very important. We all have mothers and they raised us, and we should be grateful to our mothers. We should hug them, kiss them, appreciate them, right? Like even they say, like, all the big kings and rulers in the world, they would have been nothing without their wife or wives, right? Like, every famous king you find in history had a wonderful wife that was always supporting their husband, the king, right? So if you look even in history, there was behind a strong man also a strong woman, and there's nothing wrong with that. Even in the Quran, it says that people will be judged on their deeds, and everyone can enter Jannah or go to Jahannam, and it doesn't matter if they are a man or a woman. It doesn't matter, because in deeds we are all the same in front of Allah, right? So, but feminism did something that is, in my opinion, totally wrong. It actually tried to change the roles. It tried to change nature, right? Like, a woman has things that a woman can do better than a man, right? A man has stuff that a man can do better than a woman. Like, look at construction workers. How many female construction workers do you see carrying the heavy machines and the rocks and stuff, right? Why in famous boxing matches you don't see men box against women? Because there are physical limitations. Why usually soldiers and warriors are mostly men? There are female soldiers, this exists, but the majority is men. Why? Because science can even prove that a man, because of the way the body is built, like how much muscle tissue, like muscle is there and stuff, like the bone structure, that a man has more physical capacity than a woman by nature. And men tend to be taller as well by genetics, right? So that's why usually, like, you know what, like even in Islam, like it is said that the men are the protectors of the family. If someone invades your house, you as the man, you're responsible for your wife or wives, for your children. You have to go to the front line. You have to protect your family from harm, even if it costs you your life. This is what's expected of a Muslim husband. And it makes sense because we are taller and we have more muscles. Like, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you know any female version of him? I have never seen this. Same with like weightlifting. Why is the world record done by a man, not a woman, right? So there are like physical limitations. But the same is, you could say, when it comes to like babies. Like, you can say, okay, can there be like single dads that can raise kids? Yes, this can exist. But usually, and not usually, like biologically, a woman has more sensitivity and patience with a baby than a man. A man will freak out way before a woman freaks out and gets worked out with a young child, right? So looking at this, same with like emotional capacity, women are actually stronger emotionally when you look at it. And there have been studies actually also showing that women can go on better with emotional pressure than men. Like, men sometimes they break down from emotional pressure, where a woman can still handle it and stuff. So there are differences between the genders, and they are actually proven even by science. So if you're trying to role change this or turn a wife into a husband into a wife, you get a social problem. Like the society is going to be a mess after some time, especially if this gets out of control even more than it is now.
There's no such thing as sexual consent. As a man, how are you supposed to live your life? I guess you just don't talk to women at all. I guess you just don't reproduce, right? If you have no kids, you have nothing to live for. You just sit there and play video games. Be a good slave.
There are many like this.
That's it. I guess that's what they want.
Yeah, the matrix
and then
controlling
they wonder why
them.
the birth rate's declining. And wonder why they have to import all these third worlders because no one has kids anymore. Well, how can you have kids if you can't have a wife? How can you have kids if you can't have sex?
Wow, that is actually true. We have this issue in Germany. The native Germans, like the Germans that are here for many generations, they're having a low birth rate. So now we're getting a lot of immigration right here in Germany, where especially like elderly care houses, even hospitals, they get like a lot of nurses now from abroad because there are no Germans anymore to do the job. And now they're actually wanting to do the same with teachers. And in some places they're doing this already. We don't have enough teachers or workers at the kindergarten, right? So they are taking from other countries, like he says, third world countries now, employees, and they hire them and fly them over to work in those jobs because the Germans are no longer producing here. Like some families have just 1 or 2 kids, and actually 2 kids is not a stable number. You need in like a birth rate of at least 2 point something to have actually a growth, right? Because there's also the mortality rate, right? That means like not everyone is going to live a full life. So if everyone is like living a full life, nobody's dying, you're okay with a birth rate of 2, but you should be above a birth rate of 2 to have actually an increase of population. So let's say a household has 3 kids, 1 person passes away, it still evens out, right? But if you have only 2 and then 1 kid is no longer, or 1 parent, like, yeah.
Everyone in this room and everyone watching this podcast exists because a man went up to a woman, said hello, and they had sex. That's what happened. Now if you even go up to a woman, you're a sexual predator. If you go up and say, excuse me, I think you're beautiful, that's somehow. That's why we're all here.
That's actually true. It happened to one of my friends, by the way.
The level of matrix.
He was called a pervert for speaking to a girl.
What's going on here? Society is so fundamentally broken. You can't even exist as a man anymore. Your only hope, the only answer, is to be such a charming, fantastic individual that women do not want to betray you and attack you. Which I guess is an answer. I mean, it's worked for me.
Or you are a religious person, you're practicing Muslim, you are staying away from haram, right? You get actually a very good religious Muslim wife, right? That's also fearing Allah. And then she won't do this on you. Like, actually, you know, it's like funny. This happens so seldom to Muslim families. Like, this happens usually to like Christians and atheists, but even some of the more religious Christian families would never dare to do this. And there's still like a few very religious Christian families, and the wives would never go to such length. But people that are so much into kufr, right, into atheism, they actually tend to do this, like especially their girlfriends and wives, right? Because they have like some different worldviews. Like, they don't believe that they're gonna be judged on Judgment Day. They don't even believe in a hereafter. If you don't fear a hereafter, you don't fear your creator, you'll do all sorts of things. You will even bribe people. You will steal from people. You don't care about destroying others' lives, because if you don't have a religion, you don't believe in a creator, you believe you're not gonna get punished once you die, right? But we in Islam, we believe in a punishment in the hereafter. So our wives and the husbands, they would never do something like that.
But you're relying on the sensibilities of
Unless
other
they
people.
don't
It's
have
kind of
iman.
a scary scenario to know that the woman you take care of and love might turn on you any moment.
Yeah.
And she can. And she has all the benefit of the doubt.
It's an unsafe environment.
I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just going to say it. In fact, it must be true. If a woman goes into a police station and makes an accusation against a man with no evidence,
Does they have to
6
check
years
it?
ago, I had sex with a man. Who? Him. I have no text messages from him. I have no video of it happening. I have no video of me going to his house. I don't remember where he lives. I don't remember the car I was in.
Only his
I don't
name.
remember anything. I was drunk. But I had sex with this man, and I regretted he raped me. Zero evidence of any kind.
Yeah, this
That man
happens
would
a
be
lot.
questioned and arrested, I'd argue. If I go into a police station and say, I was robbed, I don't remember where, I don't know what they took, I don't know when it happened,
They do nothing.
but I was robbed. They go, what do you want me to do with this? What do you mean, robbed by who? What? Well,
Yeah, you have no evidence.
No evidence, just random accusations. It's scary.
It's very scary, yeah.
Then, let's go deeper down the road.
Now, how do we solve this issue, though?
Do women hate men now? If you're going to push this feminist narrative and you're going to tell women they have to compete with men, and a woman's going to buy into that, and she's going to see herself in competition with men inside the workforce or inside society
I think the only way to actually fix this consent and false rape allegation part is if the law becomes stricter, where you have to do the same like with robbing. You actually need full evidence. You need a text message, a video, or some stronger evidence, and then they can actually deny this. Like, they need to actually change the law in order to fix this situation, right? But yeah, people will actually, it's like funny, like the feminists, they're gonna actually protest against this new law, like where you actually need evidence, if they ever even come up with such, right?
And a woman's gonna buy into that. And she's gonna see herself in competition with men inside the workforce or inside society in masculine realms. Is she gonna feel hateful or resentful towards men? To a degree? I'd argue she would. Because
yeah,
a woman in a feminine realm will destroy a man, as she should. She has all the advantages.
Yeah, women are more beautiful usually and more soft.
Outperform men 100% of the time. By extension, in masculine realms, men will outperform women 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to try and turn women into men, what you're going to have is you're going to have short, broke, emotional men. You're going to lose the big, strong, tall, stoic men. And then they're going to be resentful of the men who do better than them. And then you're going to give that resentful person power to destroy any man's life at a whim without evidence.
That is actually true, right? Like, there are some transgenders, I've heard about this, right? And they're trying to actually take part in, like, fitness competitions. And those that were, like, women before and they became male, they can't actually hit the records that the males hit before. Also with, like, how much weight they had and their body index and stuff, right? Like, their measurements, same with, like, a chest measurement, like, arms, this and that. It's like, it's actually funny because that already exists where like people identify as something else and they actually do sports competitions and they want to be recognized as a male, right? And they were born a woman. And if they don't hit this level, they actually get frustrated. Or there are like some women that are trying to also do things that men do, right? And if they can't have the same result, of course they're gonna be upset because they hit a ceiling, right? Like, hey, I'm now as high as I can get, but I can't get any higher because my body is physically not developed to reach that length, right? So there can be some frustration. Like, I agree here with Andrew Tate. And I do hope that those individuals, they actually came to a realization rather than a big rant and actually roast a man, right? Because you shouldn't, like, this is something also in Islam that we are being taught, and this is actually healthy for society. In Islam, you should not envy others for what they got in their life. Like, everyone here on this dunya, in this planet, received an individual blessing or benefit by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Like, maybe you're very handsome, but you're not so smart, or you're very ugly, but you're very smart, or you're poor, but healthy, or you're rich, but sick. Like, there are always some sort of drawbacks in one area, right? Like, you cannot be perfect and good at anything. This is the same when it comes to like women and men. We have physical differences, right? So you have one benefit here and one disadvantage here. But then the other gender or other human being, it doesn't have to be an opposite gender. It can be the same gender, has another difference, right? Like, one guy is tall, but he's very skinny. The other guy's small, but he's easier to do fitness or build muscle, right? So he's like stronger but shorter. The other one is like skinny and tall. Like, everyone has some sort of advantage or unique metabolism, right? Like, some people get chubby easily, some they actually stay slim no matter how much they eat. So even our health is different. Like, not everyone has the same sort of blessings and things, right? So it's actually wrong to look at others and envy them. This is something that you should not do also, because Islam teaches not to do that.
And then you're going to give that resentful person power to destroy any man's life at a whim.
This leads to unhappiness too.
I'm just talking out loud. I don't know. Is that scary? It is kind of scary. And then you come along and say, okay, well, we've tried to turn these women into men and they're not doing that well. So we're going to do diversity hires and hire the women over the men, even though the men outperform them. And if you look at her wrong, she can destroy your life at random. And you have to pay all your taxes, go build the roads. And you're not allowed an opinion. And if they're fat, you have to find them attractive. Otherwise,
wow.
And your kids are gay, don't say anything about it.
No body shaming allowed. Wow.
Freedom!
Yeah.
Democracy! Don't you love we live in a free society? Isn't it great?
No, that's so
Freedom.
so controversial.
Money matrix.
Money matrix.
Yeah.
Money matrix.
Free society. We live in a free society. It's so free here. I feel free. Do you?
Let me give this one a thumbs up. This is actually really good. No, he's actually right. Like, what is consent these days? Like, how do you know someone is consenting? Like, it can even be someone you already married even, right? Like, this is actually ridiculous. Like, imagine being a police officer, okay? Like, picture yourself working at a police officer. You're now at the station. It's some time in the afternoon. A woman enters your police station. You're standing there. You're welcoming this woman, saying, hey, how may I help you? What's wrong? And she tells you her husband that she has been married with for 8 years raped her or something. Like, what do you as an individual think if such an individual comes to you and says, my husband after 8 years now, this one time actually did something I didn't want to do? Like, wait, what? You've been married for 8 years? And then actually your protocols, like your regulations, your rules by your higher ups are actually forcing you to actually accept this complaint and actually accept this case and arrest the husband. Subhanallah, this is crazy, guys. Like, this is nuts, right? And if a man does the same thing, he's actually going to be sent home. Like, try this. Go to a police station. No, I mean, don't try this. Sorry, I have to take back my words. Don't do this. Like, you're gonna look like an idiot, and it's actually not good. But imagine, like, a husband goes to a police station, 8 years of marriage, saying, my wife raped me this one time. They're going to laugh at this guy. They're going to send him home. But if you're women, 8 years of marriage, you do this, the guy's getting destroyed. He's going to lose his job, his house. And the same thing for us Muslims living in the West. And this is something with divorce, right? And this is something that's actually scary. I know some brothers from the masjid, they only want to get married in Islam and not by law in Germany. You guys know why? And this is something you will be scared about. If you marry someone and they divorce you, they can run off with half of your wealth. They get 50% of your wealth. This is true. You can look this up online. So if someone actually works very hard, a husband, he works 9 to 5, he comes home, he's tired, this and that, he provides for his wife, he always gives her money, he gives money to the kids, and then one day the wife decides, I'm not happy with you anymore, I want a divorce. And she was not working as hard as the guy. She can still take 50% of his money, even his kids, because she has more rights over the kids than the husband, and she goes away with the kids and half of the guy's wealth. And this is so wrong in Islam. It's actually forbidden if you divorce to take half the money of your spouse. It doesn't matter if it's your wife. You can take from your ex-wife half the money, and you can take half the money from your ex-husband. This is actually haram in Islam. But yeah, Western society is becoming more and more crazy. I feel like they really need some more religion in governments, because this atheism, feminism sort of movement is actually destroying society. Like, we no longer have morals and boundaries, and everyone's being crazy these days, right? Like, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time, inshallah.